Welcome to This Explainer. Have you ever wondered how massive global enterprises keep their goods flowing when the rest of the world seems to be falling apart around them? Well, today, we're stepping directly into the shoes of a professional supply chain risk manager. We're going to break down the exact frameworks these pros use to analyze, quantify, and mitigate global disasters. So get ready to look at risk not as some vague, lingering worry, but as a hard science. To build our expertise today, we're tackling a quick four-part agenda. First, the mindset shift. Second, the math of disruption. Third, the 5 stages of vulnerability. And finally, the interconnected ecosystem. By the end of this, you'll have the theoretical tools you need to diagnose structural weaknesses in real-world case studies.
All right, Section 1, the mindset shift. Filtering uncertainty into true risk.
You know, before you can actually manage risk, you have to realize that optimized, everyday conditions, they're totally temporary. To think like a true professional, we've got to establish a core definition right off the bat: the difference between uncertainty and risk. Uncertainty is basically the parent category. It's any situation where the future outcome isn't known for sure. It's everywhere. But as a risk manager, your job isn't to lose sleep over every single uncertainty in the world. Your job is to filter them. According to the ISO 31000-2018 standards, a risk is only an uncertainty that has a confirmed negative impact on your specific supply chain objectives. If it doesn't impact you, it's not a risk.
Think about it like this. Risk is entirely contextual. Heavy rain in Vancouver tomorrow is an uncertainty. For a software company based in Toronto, that weather event has absolutely zero impact on their operations. It doesn't belong anywhere near their risk register. But for a British Columbia salmon farmer who ships live product in refrigerated trucks through the Fraser Canyon, that exact same rain creates a massive flood hazard. For them, it's a direct operational impact. It's the exact same uncertainty, but entirely different risk profiles based on their specific objectives.
Moving right along to Section 2, the math of disruption. Calculating the cost of chaos.
So, now that we know how to spot a true risk, we have to mathematically quantify it so we can allocate our corporate resources effectively. The core tool of the trade is this foundational equation. Risk equals probability multiplied by impact. Once an uncertainty passes your filter and you confirm an impact exists, this equation demands hard data. You literally have to ask, exactly how likely is this event, and exactly how severe will the financial consequence be? Let's do some quick math using expected monetary value, or EMV. Imagine there's a 20% probability of a disruption happening, and if it does, it's going to cost your company $500,000. Your EMV is $100,000. As an expert risk manager, that number is your rational spending ceiling. If you pitch your boss a $200,000 mitigation strategy to prevent a $100,000 expected loss, well, that's just a terrible business decision.
But what happens when the math completely breaks down? We have to draw a hard line in our taxonomy between known risks and unknown risks. A known risk is something like winter storms delaying trucks on Ontario's Highway 401. The impact is confirmed, and we've got enough historical data to assign a precise probability and use our EMV math. But an unknown risk, say a sudden global pandemic halting all air freight, the impact is absolutely staggering. But without any historical precedent, we can't assign a probability, and that forces a massive strategic pivot. You have to shift from precise financial calculations to building broad, flexible, organizational resilience.
Okay, on to Section 3, the 5 stages of vulnerability, diagnosing the supply chain ecosystem.
To build out our analytical toolkit, we're going to take a guided diagnostic tour to see where vulnerabilities actually hide. We can break down any incredibly complex global network into 5 distinct stages: sourcing, suppliers across multiple tiers, transportation, inventory and warehousing, and finally, distribution and demand. Using these 5 lenses maps out exactly where the structural weaknesses are hiding.
Stage 1 is all about inbound sourcing, focusing strictly on internal procurement strategy. Now, single sourcing from one vendor might get you some sweet administrative ease and massive volume discounts, but put on your expert lens for a second. It creates a catastrophic single point of failure. Think about Apple's historic reliance on Foxconn facilities, or Canadian manufacturers who mine their own EV battery minerals but rely entirely on single-country processing in China. If that one geographic region goes offline, your entire operation stops dead in its tracks. In Stage 2, we zoom out to the broader supplier network. And honestly, the real danger here usually isn't your direct Tier 1 partner. The danger is tier blindness. This is when you discover, way too late I might add, that all your independent Tier 1 suppliers actually rely on the exact same Tier 3 supplier. Back during the 2011 Japan tsunami, global automakers suddenly had to halt production because almost all their different paint suppliers relied on a single destroyed Tier 3 chemical plant for a specific pigment called xeralic. We saw the same thing when Ontario packaging firms faced shortages because the 2023 BC wildfires wiped out the Tier 2 pulp mills their direct suppliers relied on.
Which brings us to Section 4, focusing on Stage 3, Transportation, Anatomy of a Global Disaster. For this one, we're doing a post-mortem on one of the most famous choke point failures in modern history. I'm talking about March 2021, when the Ever Given blocked the Suez Canal. You had a 400-meter container ship traveling at nearly double the recommended speed through a sandstorm, and it physically wedged itself into the single-lane section of the canal. That one singular incident completely severed a maritime route that handles 12% of all global cargo. No way around it.
The sheer scale of the disruption was mind-blowing. 432 vessels were trapped. An estimated $9.6 billion in global trade was halted every single day. Maersk Line alone lost around $89 million, mostly just in inventory carrying costs. Companies running hyper-efficient just-in-time systems with zero inventory buffers faced an absolute operational catastrophe. Why? Because the only alternative was rerouting all the way around the southern tip of Africa, which added 7 to 10 days of sailing time and massive fuel costs.
But hey, we have to remember that transportation risks aren't exclusively massive ocean crossing events. Domestic events prove the exact same principle. A 13-day labor strike at the Port of Vancouver halted $800 million of goods per day. Or look at the 2021 atmospheric river in British Columbia. Catastrophic flooding simultaneously severed Highway 1 and both main rail lines through the Fraser Canyon. When all your surface transport modes, trucking and rail, run through the exact same physical choke point, trying to diversify your modes simply won't save you. All right, Stage 4, Inventory and Warehousing. Here, the risk is heavily centered around physical security and demand forecasting. Centralizing all your stock in one highly automated state-of-the-art hub might look incredible on a spreadsheet, but it can lead to total ruin if a fire breaks out, like the one at the ASOS distribution center back in 2018, or consider the BC cold storage facilities that lost their entire inventory due to prolonged power outages during the floods. And it's not just physical destruction either, it's obsolescence. Canadian fashion retailers learned this the hard way when they ordered pandemic-era athleisure months in advance, only to be stuck with unsellable inventory when consumer demand suddenly pivoted back to formal wear.
Finally, Stage 5 is distribution and customer demand. This is where human psychology throws a wrench in the works right at the end of the line. I'm sure we all remember the massive demand spikes from the 2020 toilet paper panic buying that completely overwhelmed steady-state distribution networks. But it can also look like a final-mile supply collapse, like the 2022 baby formula shortage in North America, which was triggered by just a single plant shutdown. And then there's price-driven volatility. Think about consumers aggressively pantry-loading groceries out of fear of inflation, which violently distorts standard replenishment cycles.
And that leads us to our final section, Section 5, the interconnected ecosystem, breaking down the silos.
Now, we really need to recognize the fatal flaw in looking at these stages in isolation. Let's revisit the Ever Given. It didn't just break transportation. It proved that modern supply chains are intensely interconnected ecosystems. A transportation failure immediately cascaded backward into sourcing, highlighting the danger of geographic concentration in Asia. It cascaded forward into inventory, completely wiping out just-in-time systems while proving the real value of safety stock buffers. And it absolutely decimated distribution, where seasonal goods like spring clothing arrived weeks too late to actually sell.
So the crucial point is this. Breaking the supply chain into 5 stages is a brilliantly effective diagnostic tool. It reduces cognitive load and lets you clearly assign targeted risk ownership. Say, procurement managers handle Stage 1 and logistics handle Stage 3. But the limitation is that adhering to it too rigidly creates siloed thinking. It totally blinds you to how violently and quickly a disruption cascades from one tier to the absolute ends of your network.
Which leaves us with one final, incredibly important question to chew on as you step back into the real world. We know that risk management requires highly precise data to calculate that probability times impact equation. But you can't gather that data in the middle of a crisis. So what specific types of operational intelligence are you actively collecting today, right now, to ensure you're actually ready to measure and survive the disasters of tomorrow?